Hello, everybody. My name is Tyler, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Reddit Reacts. I think that's what's going to be the name of the channel, name of the episodes. Just because whenever I bring up Reddit, I'm going to be reacting to it, so you guys know on Spotify and on YouTube. So if you want to look up these Reddits, I'm gonna be let me hold on. Let me quickly make a few fixes, just because I was supposed to keep those links, and I didn't keep those links. So I should be keeping these links. But again, the links for anything we discuss on the Reddit reacts will be down below. Let me know your thoughts about the Reddit after you read it, and what your thoughts about my opinion. But let's get started. This Reddit post for "Am I the a-hole?" asks, Am I the a-hole for screaming at my friend's birthday party?" And again, for this story, it's quite a long read, so I'm going to be doing my best to just skim. I'm going to be doing my best. I read it once already, and I'll be doing my best to summarize some of these paragraphs as much as I can. Much as I can. Essentially, okay. So the original post. The poster recently went to his friend's birthday party. Went to his friend Luke's party. He met Luke, and they were very close in college. So they've been friends for a pretty long time in college, and he knows that the original poster is going through has suffered from PTSD and went through drugs, and since then he's been a recovering addict, and he hasn't had any close calls for a while, until like 7 hours ago, until last night actually. Okay, he was told it's gonna be a small hangout. It was a part, and it turned out to be a party. So number one, Luke is the a-hole for not disclosing that it's a party. But again, he didn't. He said small hangout, so it's probably his. It's again, everybody's at fault, because the original poster would not have known to ask how many people are in the small hangout, because a small hangout would be like 5-10 people, like back in my day as a boomer when we had Halo release. A small hangout would be me and my brother bringing our PlayStation, bringing our Xbox to our friend's house, and there would be 4 people downstairs and 4 people upstairs playing a LAN party of Halo and Halo 2. That was a small party. This is 40 people. That is a decent size. That's a small party, not hangout. And so, again, Luke is the a-hole for here. This biggest The problem comes during the party, during in the middle of the party, where everybody was doing lines at a table, and for some reason, again, the host, whether and if the host was against the drugs, he should have been on that and said, no, do not do that, or cancel the party because someone brought drugs. And so that's a problem. It states that wasn't until I saw out of the corner of my eye, people, including Luke, the friend, was doing lines. The whole party was starting to gravitate into that direction, and I could tell this was about to become the sole focus of the party. So again, this is Luke is being the a-hole because he invited his friend to his birthday party knowing he's a recovering addict. And Luke is allowing a table of people doing lines when he invited his friend, where he personally knew he would have had a problem with this situation. So again, Luke is the a-hole for inviting someone who has a problem with what you're doing. Because if Luke wants to take part in drugs, that's on him. I particularly take creatine. I take protein for protein accessories. However, Luke is the a-hole right now because he invited a friend who is recovering to a party that he is allowing to have drugs at. And yeah, again, so the poster brings up that the friend inviting a friend was Luke was inviting a friend knowing that he was recovering. So that's on Luke's fault. But again, blowing up at Luke was definitely 1 point in your bucket for being your fault. Pulled him to the side, screamed about how dumb he was for being his friend. Um, Luke looked embarrassed. He stormed out, and so again, original poster. You have 1 point in the bucket for being the a-hole because you blew up, and there are definitely different ways to address this problem. But again, Luke has so much more against them. Again, number one, point in the bucket for making a small hangout being a party of like 30, 40 people. That's on Luke. That's number one. He, let's see, he allows drugs at a party. That's on him. Well, that's not on him because Luke can decide whether or not his party has or hasn't had drugs. There have been parties I've been to that has had THC and CBD used. Cannabis was being used, and for the state of Washington allows cannabis use. Sure. So in a state that allows cannabis use, I've been to a few parties that have allowed cannabis. Some smoking, some edibles. That's fine. For the party host to allow it, that's fine. For the host to, if the host were to not disclose these kind of uses, that's on the party host. And for the host to not tell his friend that there will be drugs, that's so much more points. He gets so many more points in his bucket for being the a-hole because as the host, he should be aware about who's on the guest list. He should be aware about who is allowed at his home. He personally invited the original poster to come to his party, knowing that he's an addict. And so, as much as the original poster has 1 point in the bucket for a-hole, his friend has several more, in my opinion. It goes into, like, in the next morning, because the original poster is right to feel like is a violation of trust in a degree. He goes home, goes to bed. He wakes up to several texts from Luke saying he didn't think it would matter. So again, point on Luke for not considering his feelings. That's on Luke's fault for not considering the poster's feelings. Just because you've been sober for so long doesn't mean you know what can re-trigger a thing, where some people may have different reactions to just the intake of drugs, and like being around drugs. Being around drugs is almost as bad as being the one consuming, because for him, I don't know what the original poster has gone through to recover, but being in the same room has definitely caused a reaction. So for people who are recovering, they don't know. Some people don't know how strong-willed they can be around that substance. So again, for not knowing the severity of that, like, recovery, or like the severity of the reaction of substance, that's on Luke. More points on Luke being the a-hole in this situation. But again, it's still a 1 point for the poster's fault for not reacting in good form. He could have left. He could have, like, pulled him aside saying, "Hey, friend, I'm sorry. I have to leave. I'm not comfortable with this in the room." So again, one has more point than the other, ultimately. And it's not his friend. It's not the poster's fault for ruining his party, because Luke, again, is allowed as the host to have these things happen. He is also responsible for being the host to disclose this information, and that's his fault. And for the original poster, it's like a violation of trust, confining about the drug problem. And again, Luke is at fault for failing to consider or even warn his guests about what's going to happen at the party. I haven't responded to anything he has said yet, but I'm absolutely upset. So again, you're not the a-hole for blowing up. Because again, as you saw me, I counted the number of points that he has against them. Luke should have known as the host to disclose information. And some of the let's go through some of the edits before we go to the comments. Someone advised me. Someone advised me to add that Luke was the one who brought some. And again, okay, whether or not he allegedly drugs, I don't know the expense, but if he contributed to the table, he is equally at fault for not disclosing information. And yeah, sir. In light of okay, so unfortunately, in light of the events discussed in this post and all of the discussions happening, I've had some dangerous thoughts resurfacing. So you're logging off. Good. Take your time, disconnect, clear my head, but I do not intend to continue to remain being around him. Okay, definitely, poster. Take your time. You plan to reach out to Luke in the coming days to try and clear the air. But again, if you don't feel comfortable being around him whenever he uses, that is on him. You are acknowledged, and your feelings are acknowledged to these things. So that's okay. Let's go through some of the comments, because essentially I think that he is not the a-hole for this blow up, but he is at fault for how he did it. There are definitely different ways that he might have had. There might have been things that he might have been told on how to react, but again, he is still he is still allowed to have these feelings of like, hey, I don't feel like you respected like the party for not being told, like for not being told these things. That's on him. Let's see some of the comments. So far the top poster mentioned that everybody is the a-hole. Everyone here sucks. If Luke knows about your addiction, he was inconsiderate. Making a scene was your fault. If you had problems with what you saw, you should immediately leave. Luke shouldn't have invited you under the circumstances. But also, yeah, it's fine. Ultimately, everybody here sucks. But ultimately, Luke sucks more. Let's see. I don't know why this person mentioned that he is the a-hole. Parties can involve drugs. You could have pulled him aside. Like, again, you're reprimanding him for what he should have done. That's not a good critique. Pulled him aside and politely told him that you were leaving. You don't know if the drugs were pre-planned or if it just became a thing at the moment. You can't go screaming around people. But again, that's not the great way to respond, but that is his response. That is his response reaction. Because again, like, when it comes to suffering from, he said he has PTSD and he used coke to cope. So that's his trigger. That's his reaction to his PTSD because of how tangential and like how connected the drugs were. So he's allowed to have these feelings. Move on, pause and move on. I mean, you can't, he's wrong to say that you can't make your addiction everybody else's problem. But again, like if you're inviting people to a party, you should be accommodating as the host. So it's Luke's problem. This is Luke's problem for not. Luke should have been. It's kind of like me making dinner for people and like me forgetting to mention, oh, there's peanuts. And when one person like is upset that there's food here that they can't eat, it's not a situation of making the allergy everybody else's problem. It's gonna be everybody else's problem because if they have anaphylactic shock, that's the party's fault. So That's if you switch the words, like your argument that you can't make your addiction everyone's problem, that itself is a problem. So that is Luke's fault for not accommodating, because the host has to do that. If you wanted a party with Coke, you could not have invited the original poster. Let's see if I get another. Is there another one with like a good NTA? Let's see. Was there another NT? Is there NTA post that I can like react to? Yeah, like this person like don't make assumption or blank statements about addicts. Wait, I'm in recovery and have no issues being at a party. Well, that's him. They are. If they're come, that's on them for being like. It's not 100% on the original poster, because you're saying if there was a situation where you couldn't resist. He didn't know that he was walking to a party that had that. And okay, first NTA. NTA, I do agree with the comments on here saying that it's your responsibility to manage. But if he was actually a good friend, he wouldn't have put you in the situation to react. Like, yeah, it's like the same thing with a peanut allergy, where if you know one of your friends is allergic and you cook food that has allergic, that's on you. You were hosting a party that has a substance that they are allergic to. In this case, he's going to have a reaction if he sees it. If he's more of an acquaintance, that'd be overreacting, yes. But if he really is a close friend, the host should have told you there would be drugs. He might even lied to get you to relapse. Like, maybe, yeah. Yes, I've been commenting the same thing. Luke can consume whatever substance he wants, but that doesn't. But it takes as much effort saying, "Hey, heads up, I'm bringing Coke." The fact that Luke didn't send the text to tell the original poster, he's either an addict himself and didn't want to be educated on it. It's really hard to say. So I think the original poster is not the a-hole. But again, what do you think? I don't know. I have my opinions. You have yours. Let me know on YouTube and the comments down below. Spotify. Go to YouTube. Let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think. YouTube, what do you tell me? Am I the a-hole for thinking this person is not the a-hole? Because they are not at fault. But again, it's the same analogy. If you don't disclose context to your party appropriately, it will always be the host's fault. The host will always be at fault if they don't disclose information. If you come to a party that happens to lose ice, that's fine. You're gonna have like a wet drink. But also, you didn't know that you're gonna lose. You didn't know that you're gonna lose ice throughout the party. You didn't know that you're gonna run out of food at the party. But you did know things like drugs were going to be involved. If you don't disclose the context of the party, like, hey, there may be drugs, hey, there may be cannabis, hey, there may be nuts in the food, that's on the host's fault. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, my name's Tyler. I'm your friend, and I'll see you next time. Bye.